Okay, I would like to reconvene this February 15th board meeting. And could I have a motion to accept the minutes for the retreat and the meeting on the 18th, please?
So moved, Madam Chair, for both the January 6th retreat and the January 18th board meeting.
A second, please.
Second.
Hi. This is Brenda. I second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brenda. We already had a second on the floor.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there anything that, I guess I encourage everyone, if you have a correction or an addition, that you call Vicki and talk to her before the meeting so that we don't have that done during the meeting. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Reports to the board. Rhonda Priest, Staff Senate.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Trustees. Just a couple of things to report on, and I will say it's been really nice to have that we've not had a lot of turmoil and things to discuss like we did last semester around budgets and RIFs and such, so this has been a much pleasant start to the semester. But a couple of things that Staff Senate has going on right now. First thing is that if you may have noticed, an email was sent out and there's bins across campus. We're collecting items for the student pantry that they need items such as non-perishable food items, personal hygiene items, and school supplies. Donations can also be made through the foundation if anyone is interested in doing that. We'll be doing that through the month of February, and the campaign is Love Your Students. So hopefully we'll get a good response to that and help fill the shelves for our student pantry.
Rhonda,
Yes,
are you saying that if we want to donate items, we could take them to the foundation?
If you want to donate items, there's bins across campus that you can put them in, or get in touch with me. I'll be glad to do that, as well as I know Jerry Grego's here and it's in her division. And then monetary donations can be earmarked through the foundation if you'd like to do that instead.
Thank you very much.
But all donations would be much appreciated, so thank you. The second thing that we're working on is an electronic survey has been sent out to all staff to gather feedback about preferred dates, location, and topics for the annual staff retreat that is held each summer for classified and professional staff. Identical half-day sessions are offered in the morning and afternoon to accommodate schedules and to ensure department coverage across the LCCC campuses. And this year we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for as many people as possible to participate, and want to make sure it's meeting their needs. And so hopefully we'll get feedback from our staff within the next couple of weeks, and we'll be able to start planning and reserving the space we need, as well as the speakers that are chosen for those topics. So any questions for me?
Any questions? Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Next, we have Faculty Senate, Rob McNabb. Welcome back, both of you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Trustees. Pretty easy report today. Over the past several weeks, Faculty Senate has attempted to engage with faculty to gather their thoughts on campus initiatives such as new faculty portal and the Dead Hour, intended to facilitate faculty participation in committees and other campus activities. The feedback was gathered in a format that allowed comment on perceived pros and cons of both initiatives, and this data was provided to Vice President of Academic Affairs, Terry Harper, to assist her and her team as they work to implement those activities.
Excuse me, is dead hour once during the semester, or how often is the dead hour?
It's the Dead Hour is over Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's a period of time between 12:15 and 1:30. And the intent is that time is kept open. No classes or labs are scheduled during that time, so that there is a time that allows faculty to participate in committees, subcommittees, and activities.
Thank you.
As the Faculty Senate worked to update the Faculty Senate bylaws, it was suggested that we poll the faculty and administration for information regarding the expectations of the Senate. That questionnaire has just gone out just early this week. The data gathered from this poll will be used to inform proposals to President Shaver regarding changes to the role of Faculty Senate on campus, if any. The decision by Faculty Senate to explore possible changes in how it conducts business is driven by the Senate's desire to assist LCCC faculty and leadership in its efforts to deal with the issue of faculty retention. Vice President of Academic Affairs, Terry Harper, will soon release the results of the Faculty Release Time Subcommittee to faculty, and the Faculty Senate is poised to answer questions that the subcommittee's proposal may generate among faculty. The Senate will forward faculty concerns to VPAA Harper and President Schaefer as applicable. Please feel free to contact myself or any faculty senator should you have any questions regarding the state of campus faculty or faculty senate initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Good report. Any questions? Comments?
Yes, Madam Chair. In fact, this question also goes to Rhonda. I'm wondering if the faculty senate and the staff senate have discussed the House Bill 136. That is basically the campus carry bill allowing concealed weapons on campus. That bill has gone through the House and is now over at the Senate. And this morning, the Senate Judiciary Committee advanced it to the full Senate. So my question to the two of you is, have one more comment. The Board of Trustees, your Board of Trustees, has gone on record opposed to that initiative. So my question is, have you in your two Senates had the opportunity to discuss that bill?
We have discussed it in the last two faculty senate meetings, as we are opposed to the bill as a body, and we're just we keep each other updated as far as where the status of the bill is, and we're just watching it very closely. Senators have been encouraged to contact their district representatives to voice their opposition to the bill.
Have you considered a formal communication from the faculty senate to the Wyoming Senate?
No, we had not considered that.
Might you consider that?
We might. I'd definitely bring it up. Also, there was a communication from, I left my phone over there, but I just got an email before I walked in here this evening that one of the president of the WEA for Wyoming has sent a formal letter to the Senate discussing their grievances with specific items in that bill, and how there's not an accommodation of how we verify if there's a permit, or how do we handle issues in the classroom directly related to concealed carry issues.
I think it'd be quite useful for as many of the opposition groups make it formally known to the legislature. I would encourage that.
Okay,
We'll definitely look at that.
Regarding staff senate, we have discussed it, and we've met with President Schaefer. We meet with him monthly as our officer groups, and we were asking for his take on some of those during the last meeting around the legislative issues. Concealed campus carry is one thing that's really of great interest to us, and we would go on record as saying that we oppose it as well. And we would be happy to communicate with our legislative body to communicate that.
In fact, this evening I'll go ahead and I'll email fellow senators about your suggestion, and I'm sure that we'll get a quick response to something together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Don. Moving on to approval items, naming of college spaces. Lisa, would you like to come back to the table, please, if we have any more questions? I guess the motion is that who do you want to have do this?
Madam Chair, you have a memorandum or a memorandum regarding the proposed naming of two of the new conference rooms in the Pathfinder building after A&B Bank. A&B Bank and their owners, the Sturm family, have made a generous donation to the library campaign. And in recognition of that donation, as well as many of the gifts and the contributions they've made to the college over years for a variety of programs, I'm bringing you a recommendation that we name the two large meeting rooms, number 108 and 109 in the Pathfinder building, the A&B Bank Leadership Center. And so, Madam Chair, that would be my staff recommendation to you for this naming consideration.
Madam Chair, I move that we name 108 and 109, the A and B Bank Leadership Center.
I second that motion. This is Brenda.
Very good, Brenda.
And then I do have a comment. As I understand that these dollars are going to go toward the funds necessary for our renovation of the library. And Dr. Joe, could you just bring us back up to speed in our memory as to how much we had to match relative to the monies that were provided from the state?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustee Erickson. So I won't try to recap too much, but in last legislative session, as part of the capital construction budget bill, we had tentatively earmarked $2.5 million from the legislature to match $2.5 million of local funds that would be raised for the expansion, the renovation of the Ludden Library into the Ludden Library and Learning Commons. It is a unique appropriation in that the funds available for the appropriation are contingent on the earnings from the state's investment, from the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund investment above the threshold that's required for the general fund operations. And so what that means is we're essentially watching and monitoring if there will be unprofiled capital gains off of the equity side, I believe, of the investment from the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund. And if there is sufficient money, then that tips into the SIPA account, the Strategic Investment Pool account. I think I have that correct or close. That would tip essentially on June 30th, the money from the unprofiled capital gains in the account, which means that money then becomes available for the projects in a descending order as spelled out in the capital construction budget bill. And so there are some contingency pieces with that thus far, as I think I've reported before. I've heard estimates as high as $600 million of unprofiled capital gains. I believe we are number 1 or number 2 in the list. And so it looks very, very promising that come July 1, we will have the state's appropriation. The way the language is written, though, it requires that we spend the local funds first. The $2.5 million of local funds first before we can spend the $2.5 million of the state funds. And we imagine we would, proceed with this project as we've done with any others, working with the construction division and just set it up so that the first money paid out for the project would be the local funds. I will point out that one of the things that will be interesting is that we have to think about how we use bridge financing to pay for some of our portion, because at least a portion of the funds raised by the foundation through gifts such as this one will be paid over multiple years. In fact, the gift from A&B Bank and the Sturm family will be paid out over 5 years, which means we will have to have a short-term financing mechanism, either self-funded from our reserves or from a banking institution or another method to pay for the construction up front, and then we would service that debt over the 5 years that these gifts will be coming in. And so there are some moving parts to this, certainly on the state side and on our side as well, but things are looking very promising, and we are getting pretty near that.
Thank you for that comprehensive response. And my question was a little simpler. And that is, we're getting pretty close to our match. That's the key point.
Madam Chair, Trustee Erickson, very, very close to our match. Yes.
We still need more, but we're getting pretty close.
Yes.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
President Schaefer.
I thought Trustee Salazar wanted the orientation.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So you made the motion
Yes, I did.
projects
and Brenda
account.
seconded the motion. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of this naming opportunity, please say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you for being here, Lisa.
Madam Chair, Lisa, before you go, a general timeline on when we will do the formal naming and all that good stuff, or is that to be determined yet?
We're hoping to do the formal naming in March,
Okay.
pending approval. And so we will be scheduling that and moving forward with that now that approval has been granted, and work with getting the signage up and in place. But I would expect mid to late March.
Wonderful, thank you. And
Perfect.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I would highly encourage you, should you run across any of our fine A and B bank friends, such as Lori Shaney and or Kevin Paintner, to tell them thank you for their generosity and support of the college. And this gift really, really means a lot.
We will. Thank you. Bye-bye. Board reports. Board member updates. I have no report. Finance and facilities.
Madam Chair, might we spend a couple moments of reviewing a few meetings that occurred last week that maybe one or two of the board members did not attend?
Of course.
Okay. The Wyoming Community College Commission met, and the major discussion that they had was on tuition. And I'm going to ask Dr. Joe to review their decision.
Trying to find my notes in here.
Okay, I'll give you some time here. They passed the motion to increase tuition for in-state by $5 per credit hour, and for WUE states by $8. And I believe I'm correct, for out of those states, in our state, it would be $10. That was the major discussion. They did also discuss the ongoing discussion about whether to remove the cap, and they did. They removed the cap as well. So, but that won't occur until the following academic year, if I'm correct. All right.
That's correct. I've got it here. So, Madam Chair, Trustee Erickson, yes, they did. It does appear that the adjustments to the tuition will be $5, $8, and $15. $5 for residents, $8 for Western Undergraduate Exchange, WUE students, and Nebraska, and then $15 for non-residents outside, to take effect with the fall of 2017 semester. And then, as you mentioned, Trustee Erickson, they did also vote to remove the flat spot or the cap. So most of you know that after 12 credits currently, we do not charge for any other credits above 12. Starting in the fall of 18, that will be removed, and we will start charging for every credit, which is what the university has been doing for some time. And so that will take effect in the fall of 18. And they wanted to phase in any type of tuition increase and then the impact of removal of the cap.
And then also with the Wyoming Association of Community College Trustees, we had a very good orientation and review of the role and responsibility of the Wyoming Community College Commission, and an excellent rundown of how the commission receives its money and how it distributes its money by Matt Petrie. One of the requests that we gave him was that, in his presentation, is that don't give it like a treasurer's report where it's really kind of dry. And he responded to that, I thought, admirably. He had a few jokes in there, and he managed to give us a great deal of illustrative material that was quite informative. So those of us that attended, I think, had a good refresher. And if anyone is interested in the handout that was not there, and I think the people that are here right now, we were all there. I guess maybe we were all there. Brenda, you were there too, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, and Wendy was there, so I don't have to make copies. Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Then another area was the fact that we had our successful Wyoming Association of Community College Trustees Awards Night. And we had a number of nominees from Laramie County Community College who were all recognized and had their picture taken. Are you going to, and by the way, our trustee nominee was our chairwoman, Carol Merrill, and she was with the other nominees from the rest of the colleges, and you had your pictures taken. Are they going to give a copy of that picture to you? Oh,
I do not know.
why take a picture if you don't get a copy?
Yes, yes, you will.
Good question.
I wanted you to have a picture.
Okay.
I don't know, any of the other attendees that from our board, was there any striking things that I didn't touch on that you want to make a comment on?
Don and Chairwoman Merrill, this is Brenda. I'd like to make a comment about something. Part of that meeting that struck me was the recognition of some of the outgoing commissioners. And Sherry Lovercheck, Charlene, I can't remember last name. Bodine, and Wendy Sweeney are all leaving the commission, and there was a nice celebration of their contribution to the community college, the Wyoming Association of Community, the Wyoming Community College Commission, their contributions to that organization, and I thought that was very touching, very moving. There was also a lot of discussion about how wonderful right now the relationship is with the community college, with the trustees of the community colleges and the Wyoming Community College Commission. And I was very moved by that relationship has grown and developed and is now in a very, very good place. So I wanted to bring that out too.
Thank you, Brenda. I saw Jim Rose last night and asked him about things. And he said it's really hard to see these commissioners leave because they've had such a great working relationship. And I'm sure that he'll be as lucky as we are with our new board of trustees that he will get equally good people. Any other comments? Butch?
And Chair, in regards to Dr. Rose, there was two financial comments he made that I thought was interesting. One was that regarding the cap, I think, hope I quoted him, is if you raise from 12 credit hours to 15, and looking at all the colleges, that would generate about 600,000 in revenue. If you take it the next step to 18, that would generate about $2.5 million. I think those comments are correct. But, so it's interesting, those numbers and where the cuts have been in this last year. And the fact that we're looking at a $600,000 possibility cut now.
Very good. Thank you, Butch. Okay. A lot happened at that commission meeting. Okay, Don, treasurer?
Okay, the Finance and Facilities Committee did meet on February 7. Trustee Ketchum and yourself were at the meeting. We had a full agenda, but it's interesting how quickly we were able to get through it.
Yep.
I think you helped expedite it to go through. Because you
My
wanted,
job.
well, you wanted to make sure we made the 12 o'clock lunch. There's been a concern about the signage on our administration building. And so the committee has been looking at ways to maybe help the people who drive by recognize that that's not the front door anymore, and to point out that it's the administration building. Well, it turns out that we could probably put some administration signs on the columns of the building on both the walkways. However, it's going to cost some bucks, and we don't have those bucks right now. So we're going to have to hold that particular desire.
And those
for a
bucks
later date.
were $150,000 per pillar. And wisely, Don suggested that we wait because we don't have that money. Thank you, Don.
That's true. So those of you who have also had that concern, that will be on the back burner for a while. Then we had, at my request, I had asked that we have a representative from the Residence Hall, and Sean O'Malley, and then also VP Hay was there, and they gave us a demographics of the students who are in our Residence Hall, and it's kind of interesting. I won't go through the whole thing, but the majority of the housing students come from in-state, followed by our neighboring states. And let's see, for the whole year of fiscal 17, let's see, fiscal 17, there'll be fiscal 16, 17. Make it even more correct. The fall of 16 and the spring of 17. So that would be fiscal 17. All right, about 50% are from Wyoming in our residence hall, 14% from other states, 22% from Colorado, individually Colorado, about 3% international students, and then about 9% from Nebraska. And one other demographic that might be interesting, housing students are younger than non-housing students. And the housing students, and that's pretty obvious by just looking at them and when we see them, about 20%, let's see, excuse me, about their average in the housing are about 20 years of age, and the non-housing are about 26 years of age. I thought those kind of interesting demographics.
I'd like to ask if this isn't available on the internet to all trustees and others, if we could have it published on the internet? Because I think Sean did a lot of work getting this compiled. Is that possible?
Well, those of you that don't have a copy of it, we can make copies.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'd be happy to get that to you via email. Sure.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thanks, Don. Oh, may I say something else? Are you going to say more about housing?
Go ahead.
It was really interesting because we thought that the older housing was not really appreciated or liked by the students, but many of the students prefer that older housing because it's quieter, because it's made of cement, and also they can have their doors open, which lends to a more friendly atmosphere in the dorms. The new dorms are a newer construction built out of probably just wood and plaster or sheetrock, and the doors all close automatically. So it's not a very welcoming room to room, and you're not allowed to prop your doors open. So the room to room camaraderie is not existent in the newer building, which Don and I were surprised about.
Well, there's probably the camaraderie in the newer building, but it seems to be more in the older building.
In the rooms.
In the rooms, and the way it's put together. And I will no longer, Vicky, call it the prison. And I'm going to call it.
I thought it was in that description.
Yeah, but I'm going to call it now the cell block. I'm sorry. All right, our next item had to do with our investment policy changes. And you may recall that when we reported to the board at the last meeting, a question was asked of the Interstate, who is our investor, Interstate Bank, who is our investor, what impact did the election and the passing of Amendment A have on our capability to have them use our funds and invest it? And it did have an impact, particularly with the corporate bonds. And so Harry Andrews has put together an amendment to our procedure, would be, get the right one here, 46P. And this is going to go through the vetting process. And basically it's including corporate bonds as potential places to invest our monies up to a maximum of 30%. And then the corporate bonds will be defined with certain criteria, which will come to us for our review once it goes through the vetting process that we have at the college. The next item is basically the procurement and contracting report. Got a little good news, I think, from Dr. Joe, that when we announced last meeting that we have a new potential solicitation item, which is chemical storage, evaluation, and mitigation Given that this has been a concern and Rick Johnson has been on top of this from the get-go, they found a way in which maybe we can save some money by either doing some work in conjunction with another institution. Could you clarify that? I believe that you mentioned that you anticipate that the initial cost would probably be less because of this shared arrangement.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Trustee Erickson, members of the board, basically what we were able to do is piggyback on a RFP that Colorado State University did for the similar type of service. And they wrote the RFP so that other institutions in the region could tag on and work with a company to help with the management of chemicals used in instructional laboratories and things like that. So that saved us from having a separate RFP and all that good stuff. And thus far, it looks like the price will be far below what we thought it would be.
And I think that's great news. It's a product of the work of Rick Johnson, and he's been on top of this particular chemical storage issue right from the very beginning. And then, as usual, we reviewed our financial statements, and unless another member of the committee has additional point to make, I'll make a motion to approve the procurement and contracting, or to accept the procurement and contracting report and also the financial statements for January 31.
Second, please. Oh, just seconds. Any more questions, comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Good job, Don. And then I guess we have a spending authority policy 4.5 revised to speak about, and
If I may on that one, I think it was a year or so ago, maybe it was after Vice President Johnson came aboard. There was some discussion of increasing the solicitation, not solicitation, but the amount of dollars that can be spent before it has to come to the board. And it was 30,000, it's currently 30,000. And Dr. Joe gave a rationale for an increase. And I initially, back a year or so ago, some of us were reluctant to have that increase. But Dr. Joe made, I think, a pretty good case that, okay, it's never been increased, number one. We've got inflation. We also have emergencies that may come up, which this particular rendering iteration will speak to that as far as if we have an exception for an emergency expenditure. So I would make a motion to approve the proposed amendment to the spending authority and limits policy 4.5. And if there's a second, I would like to also ask a question, Joe.
Second.
Okay.
just seconds.
Thank you. Dr. Joe, we have 60,000. Oh, okay, I don't have my question. You did have 50,000 in there, and you've changed it back up to 60,000. So it's consistent across the board in each of the paragraphs.
The question I have for the board is, did you all receive a copy of this policy?
It's in your packet here.
4.5. Okay, but have you had a time to look at it and review it and understand it? Did you get one?
No, I didn't get it, but I have the electronic.
Well, it's in your packet, I think, there.
Well, this will have to go through the vetting process. This is not approval day.
Right.
Okay, but it's my motion was to move it forward.
Oh, your motion is to move it forward. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and then Madam Chair, members of the board, if I could, so Trustee Erickson is correct. This will actually have to go through our internal process. You're essentially originating and endorsing the concept of the changes. It will then go to the President's Cabinet for what we call our first reading, and then out to the consultative feedback, a period of time in which anybody on campus can provide feedback on these changes. It'll come back to the President's Cabinet, and then ultimately I'll make a recommendation to you to approve it. And that'll probably take Vicki at least a month probably to get through. closer to 2 months. So there will be opportunities for you to see it again and really say what I think that we discussed with the committee, and I believe what Trustee Erickson is saying is what we've proposed for the changes, the increase of the spending authority, the inclusion of the emergency expenditure issues that we know we needed to add in there makes sense and generally seem appropriate. But you're not approving those tonight. You're just saying it's okay to take it out and put it out to campus, vet it through the process, and then bring it back to us when it's gone through the entire process.
What I really like about this process is we go through a process. It doesn't happen just like that. Everybody gets a say. We think it through. Everybody gets to think about it and comment on it. So I really like this process. Thank you. Anything else, Don?
Pardon?
You do have a motion.
No. Yeah, right. I have a motion for it.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
but
those in favor?
I'm not ready for it.
Or you're not ready for
No.
the
There's something here I wanted to double check on.
Okay.
And it's an additional language. The last paragraph
in the entire document?
the blue, where it says blue.
Web the blue.
Within a reasonable time frame after the declared emergency. This is if we have an exception for an emergency expenditure. Within a reasonable time frame after the declared emergency has been resolved or the disruption has been stabilized, the president shall present any expenditures over $60,000 associated with these instances to the Board of Trustees, either at a special meeting of the board or during a regularly scheduled meeting. These expenditures will come before the board for their ratification. And I think that's good language. I think over the last year, Dr. Joe, you've kind of been struggling with that language. And I think these expenditures will come before the board for their ratification is the appropriate approach.
Madam Chair, members of the board, and maybe for Trustee Salazar and Trustee Little, who is on the phone, would it be helpful if I just kind of walk through the proposed changes here real quick? I don't.
Good idea.
Okay, I don't want to take. So the first change in the procedure or in the policy is sort of the simple one, and that's the increasing of that spending limits. Right now, anything over $30,000 requires your approval, either as part of the annual budget. So when we go through the budget and set the budget for next year, there will be a list of projects or purchases that would exceed $30,000 for your approval. Or if something comes up over the duration of a fiscal year, I'm required to bring those to you if those expenditures will go over $30,000. As Trustee Erickson has said, that has been $30,000 for many moons. And what we're finding is that $30,000 doesn't go near as far as it did before. And so the first proposal is actually increasing that threshold to $60,000. So any purchase over $60,000 would require your approval. Otherwise, we can move forward with the business. That's the first piece into it. The second piece arose out of our active shooter exercises that we had here on campus last fall. And as we worked through, one of the areas we identified, we had to get more formal and add steps into the declaration of a formal emergency. So while you heard this report, we declared an emergency within the crisis team in this room. It was not widely promulgated, and more importantly, it was not formalized in letter to trigger certain types of messages and possibly support to EMA, to the governor's office, Homeland Security, and those types of things. So we knew we had to improve some areas on the declaration of an emergency. And one of the other pieces was if I had to make expenditures as a result of an emergency and they exceeded that spending threshold, I would technically be in violation of policy if I made those expenditures. So the emergency clause essentially says, hey, if we declare an emergency, I have the authority to spend money to help mitigate that emergency when it's in there. And then the third piece in there is if we have some type of crises that happens that would disrupt the normal operations of the institution. So say, for example, we have a fire in our server room and our backup with Casper College isn't working or whatnot have you, and the place shuts down. If I need to spend money to get IT people in here so we get those things back up online now, it gives me authority to be able to do that so we can go back to standard operations. And then as Trustee Erickson pointed out, I have to come back to you within a reasonable time, present those expenditures and have them ratified by the board. We've vacillated because originally I said have them approved by the board. The reality is they would have been expended. So approval really is not the right thing. The board would ratify those. If I made an error as an individual, took liberties I shouldn't have, what we decided was that's really then a personnel management between the board and the president at that point. So those are the primary changes. The one piece that we did add in here was a result of feedback from the Facilities and Finance Committee. It's that first change in the third paragraph from the bottom that basically says the board also expects the president or his or her delegate to keep the board apprised of any significant purchases or contracts where the anticipated cost would exceed $50,000. So basically this is saying, hey, if you're going to spend a lot of money, you still got to keep a surprise. We're not going to make you actually get formal approval, but you got to make sure we're in the loop. Right now, you see, as part of the Facilities and Finance Committee, a procurement report and contracts report. And that's essentially where we disclose and say, hey, these are things we're doing or things that could be coming up that are going to hit that threshold. So we'll just continue to use that mechanism to do that. But as the chairwoman has pointed out, down the road, as we change and new people are in these positions, this policy then ensures that practice continues.
And if we would ever get a new president, one that's not as trustworthy as this one.
Well, we would not hire anyone that would not be as trustworthy.
We
Would
hope
we?
not.
Probably more trustworthy, hopefully, I guess.
No.
No, the bar has been established.
Just the bar. Okay. Any more questions from Dr. Schaefer, for Dr. Schaefer? I think this is excellent and thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Trust-
Carol, this is Brenda.
Yes,
Carol,
Brenda.
this is Brenda. I just want to make sure I'm clear. So what we're voting on is raising
Nothing you
the
should know.
spending threshold
Yeah,
for
you gotta
which
look at it.
Joe does not have to ask for formal board approval from $30,000 to $60,000. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we're essentially not voting tonight. We just voted to move forward so that it can be taken out to the campus.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for asking. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, then, Don, anything else?
No,
Okay,
Madam Chair.
very, very good report. Ex officio trustee updates.
Madam
Well, we still need to
What's
vote on
going
moving
on?
it forward.
You need to vote.
All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, anyone who kept me on track. Okay. ACC Advisory Board, Butch Cato, please.
Madam Chair, Talisha had given me a few comments to make here, just some points of information really. The campus has been doing about a 6-month survey on what we call like an environmental scan, or maybe it's more than 6 months. And I understand the second draft has been circulated and hopefully the final draft of that environmental scan in Albany County will be done maybe by Friday. And so that piece of information then will be rolled into a strategic plan, which Alicia tells me that's in the works as well. A group of committee is already put together to begin to look at incorporating the environmental scan as one piece into a strategic plan for the Albany County campus. And as far as some dates coming up with regards to the building classroom additions on the campus, Teresa tells me that on February 22nd, plans and specs will be available for bidders. March 3rd will be a pre-bid meeting. And March 27th, hopefully the bid will be awarded. Is that what I understand, Teresa? Okay. So that would be, we'll get those projects, or that project going fairly quickly here. And that should do my report tonight.
Perfect. Any questions for Butch?
Madam Chair, members of the board.
Carol, this is, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Carol, yes, sorry. Butch, would you tell me again, is bids for which project?
We're expanding or enlarging two of the wings. You know, if you recall, the Albany County campus, the configuration of it, you know where the eagle is out front?
Yeah.
And then it kind of forms like two wings on either side of that eagle. We're going to expand those into larger classroom and lab, I understand, facilities. Is that right, Talisha? And so we're able to do that, to my understanding, Brenda, by using some of the student fees to get that done. And so that project is close to being let for bid, and hopefully the bids will be awarded on March 27th.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Trustee Little, so this was a project that you approved, I want to say in September of last year. It went to the Community College Commission at their October meeting in Laramie, I believe, for their approval. And now we're just getting to the part where we're actually have got the final design bids on getting out on the street, and then hopefully starting construction and completing it this summer. So we have the expansion in place for the start of the academic year next fall.
Great, thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then,
Madam Chair, when Butch reported on this strategic plan, or maybe it was Felicia, yes, that was last meeting, I believe Trustee Little requested that the strategic plan for the Albany County campus be appended to our updated strategic plan. And I hope that we're looking down the road to do that, so that it would be when you finish that strategic plan that you pass it our way, so we can append it to our strategic plan. Oh, that'll be part of the overall strategic plan.
yeah, Madam Chair, Trustee Erickson, members of the board, it certainly will do that and have that done. And the thing I was going to ask, if you have the interest, once we have the final environmental scanning report, if you'd like that presented to the board at probably your next board meeting here in March.
I think that would be appropriate.
I know the folks have been working hard on that, and they're almost as excited to present it as they are to be done with it, I would think. So, but it really is a nice comprehensive perspective. And just to connect back to 2013, it's really something that you as a board and Trustee Erickson said we wanted to see as a result of our strategic plan. And that's where this environmental scanning in Laramie has really originated from, to help us get an idea on what the needs were over there, and then how we tailor the branch campus in Laramie to meet those needs. So we'll get that scheduled.
I like this, and I like that we have special names like environmental scan, wherever we came up with that. But could we do this at a dinner, part of the dinner meeting, or would it be better to bring it here?
Dinner would be fine.
Okay. Work for you? Okay, thank you very much. LCCC student, ex officio student, Garrett. Welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few things to report here. We'll start off with President Schaefer's favorite. Coming up March 2nd is the town hall meeting, where President and the cabinet administration come down, and students can voice their opinions, what they like, what they dislike about the school, what could be improved, what they're doing great. They just have to sit there and take it all in.
Is this the first year, or is this the second year?
We're trying to make it an
Right.
annual thing.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you,
Also
Dr.
this
Schaefer.
week, all the way till Sunday, is the Random Acts of Kindness Week. SGA and CAB took this event on, but it's also a state-backed event. I did bring the flyers, so I don't remember which company. Also, this upcoming week is Brain Week in the student lounge, so just to get the students more involved with the week, when they're passing through, they can win prizes, test stuff, work out their break. It's just something to do in between classes when they're just passing through. Just trying to get students more involved with everything. Then Thursday, they'll be playing movies and having discussions about them for just to get involved. That's all I really got on that part. We haven't talked too much about that part yet. That's all I have for you so far.
Sounds like a lot's going on. Any questions from the board for Garrett? Okay. Are these activities posted anywhere in case we want to drop in?
Yeah, so the visibility committee, that I'm the chair of that in student government, we just finished the town hall flyers,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna get those posted this coming week or tomorrow or the Random Acts of Kindness event was posted up last week to give people an idea. And then these will be posted all over the school to promote the Brain Week activities. So
Okay.
if people don't remember, they can just look and see what's going on each day, Monday through Thursday.
I know, Vicki, this is a lot to ask, but could you let us know about these activities? Or maybe Garrett could. Would that be better? Thank you. I know you're quite busy being a student too. Any questions of Garrett? Are things going well with SGA? Did you get your new senators?
We got one, we were still 2 open positions.
Okay,
And we are looking to have our big election for next year's Student Government Association.
okay, so you're
I know a
gonna,
Majority of us are leaving.
but you're operating with 2 fewer SGA members than you did last semester. Is
This
that
whole year
correct?
has been kind of a roundabout with student government, with people dropping out and being hired on, and not really sure what happened, but right now, yeah, we're down 2 people.
Is this something that happens every year or has it just been this year?
So last year when I was on it,
Mhm.
no one dropped out or anything, so it's kind of weird this year being a part of all the changes of students in the association.
Okay,
So it's just been this year for some reason.
okay, thank you. Any other questions? I guess I'm kind of nosy because I really care about you students and how things are
You're
going
fine.
for you and that. So since we're all about students, we're not here if we don't have you. So thank you. I have no new business unless anyone else has any new business. We have additional information, historic list of board motions. We have that. Board dinner on March 15th. That'll be our next meeting. I believe we have the finance and facility meeting on March 8th at
Correct.
11 o'clock.
Correct.
And we'll just mention that one, not get too far ahead of ourselves. Is there any other public comment from anyone else? Just the public? I don't think we have any public here. So if not, I would like a motion for adjournment, please.
We don't let it adjourn.
Nobody wants to go home, huh? So who made the motion? Brad made the motion. The second, please.
I second.
All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Oh, my
Thanks,
gosh.
everybody.
Thanks,
Good night,
Brenda.
Brenda. Thanks.
Have a good trip.
Amazing.
I'm sorry.
fine.
Fastest meeting in history.
I didn't beat Brad's record, I think, last time.
Yeah, well, we didn't really make me know that we're doing business elsewhere.
Well, yeah, that's
And